mamas, and welcome back to another episode on the Mamas Who Brunch. I'm Jelita, your host, and I'm so excited to have you here today. I have a wonderful guest with me, my mother-in-law, Susan Reed. I call her Mom.
Hey, Jelena. Hello, mamas.
I have asked her to talk to us about changes, because if there is anybody that has been through so much change in her life, it is Susan Reed. So I have always respected you because you've been through so much in your life, but yet you have held strong to your faith. So whether that's moving, career changes with Cullen, getting a new house, family troubles and changes, you've always remained constant. And so I think it's an important subject where you can bring a lot of people some insight and some encouragement that may be going through change, because I don't know anybody that isn't going through something. So let's kind of start with just an overview so that our listeners can know a little bit more about you. Can you just kind of share your testimony and maybe start with your childhood?
Absolutely. First of all, thank you for giving me this opportunity just to share a little bit, because you are so right. We all go through changes and transitions, and I'll just give you a little bit of my story. As a child, I had many changes. I was born here in St. Louis, Missouri, and moved at the age of 9 to New Mexico, away from all my family, everyone that I was familiar with, after my dad had a heart attack at 38,
Wow.
which was a major change. And then being out in New Mexico and dealing with the transition and the changes there, there was a lot of difficulties being away from family, the sadness, the grief of that, and being a young child, on top of seeing the changes physically within my dad after having a heart attack at such a young age. Because of my dad's health, they opened up a business and later had some financial challenges, which affected me as a child, which then also brought a lot more change.
Yeah. And that was like a paint business?
Yes.
Right?
He was a painter. My grandpa was a painter. My dad was a painter. So he was no longer able to do the physical work, and he opened up a paint store and actually became the second largest volume of sales in New Mexico.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that story. I've heard the story of him painting the dugouts in the St. Louis Cardinal Stadium. So
yes. That's when he was younger,
that's
for
the
sure.
one story Brandon always talks about.
Him and my mom ran the paint store, and my dad was able to be home with us after school, and I was really grateful. But just a lot of changes as a child, and especially when they started with the financial difficulties, because I was in the 6th grade, and you were about 12 years old, and just going through
a lot for someone so young.
Yes. We moved again when I was a junior in high school. So after my junior year, should be finishing out my high school years, we made another change.
So you left all your friends. Like, that's the most important time of your childhood, is your high school years. So
especially your senior year.
Yeah.
But we had to do what we had to do. And I was grateful that the resilience, the family unit that we had, that I was able to make that change and transition at such a pivotal time in my life. Had a great senior year, and then we ended up moving again after I graduated.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So this was another positive change, but another change. And I knew down in my heart from a child that one day I would be back in St. Louis. I wanted to be around the familiarity of my family, the city, just everything that I've known. And
it was the church, right?
Exactly. That's a big part of it too, is the people that I looked up to, that I learned from. I wanted to get back to that. So I moved again at 18 by myself, and I moved back to St. Louis with my aunt and my grandma, and was able to get a job, more changes, and take my grandma back and forth to church, which meant a lot to me.
That's sweet. You got to spend that time together. So, and then when did you meet Cullen?
So, I met him for the first time. We were 13. And I thought he was a little stuck up because I was real friendly
Big shock.
with everyone. But he was just a little standoffish. But again, I saw him again when I guess I was 18. And
that was in the Tesson Ferry Church?
No, it was actually in Louisville.
At a convention?
At a convention.
Okay.
That I saw him again. And I was just always attracted to him, obviously physically.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that stood out to me is how he had a heart to serve the Lord. And while a lot of the other guys were sleeping through church, he was very involved and participated. And that was very attractive to me.
Showed an interest.
Yes. So that began the beginning of our journey. There's a lot more to all of that that I won't go into. But he was definitely the man of my dreams. And we ended up getting married here in St. Louis. I told him when we could afford a house, I want to buy a little house with a white picket fence, and I never want to move again. And
I can relate so much.
That has been many years ago. And while that was a sweet, cute little dream, it never came to be.
It did not happen.
No.
The opposite.
Yes.
The opposite happened.
Yes. But God knows exactly what we need.
Right.
And so I had many other dreams too, just to throw this in there. My younger years, I always wanted to be a flight attendant because I love to travel and I love to serve. I never really did anything with that. I also wanted to be a dental hygienist.
Because you like teeth?
I did. I like teeth and again, helping people. It's like I guess because I had such fear of going to the dentist, I wanted to be able to be there and help.
And help comfort and support people. That's really sweet.
Because it is important. It's important with our health. So I did work in dentistry. I never did go on to become a hygienist, but I was a dental assistant and worked in the front office. And then after I became a mama, I later my dream was to be a marriage and family counselor.
Which you have given counsel to many young women and people. So you have gotten to do that in a way.
Yes.
Not getting certified, but life has given you the knowledge to help people.
Absolutely.
Because you can't really fully help someone unless you've experienced it, so you can relate with them.
Absolutely. Totally. And I do think while it is important to have some knowledge, book knowledge, there's nothing like what experience does for you. And the Lord can use that to possibly help and minister to somebody else.
For sure. And you never wanted just one kid?
No. I wanted 3 kids. If I could plan it out, I wanted 2 boys and 1 girl.
I didn't know that about the 2 boys, so I knew you wanted more than one.
Yes.
But that was also a challenge, right?
It
through
was
pregnancy, through all of, I don't think people probably even know that about you.
No, I was so excited. When Cullen and I got married and we're talking of children, I told him I want to have a little boy just like you. And I have been blessed with that. But thank the Lord, I was able to get pregnant pretty quickly. That's not...
And how old were you when you had Brayden?
I was 23.
Okay.
Almost 24. He was born in May. 24 I would, in May, or July I would have been 24.
Okay.
So almost 24. And I had a difficult, I would say, pregnancy. A lot of dizziness, just a lot of issues during my pregnancy, which wasn't part of my dream,
wasn't part of the plan at all.
But again, God gave grace. I didn't have a lot of knowledge of why I was going through the things I did, but later I found out. But
was that just because of the technology at the time, or just the resources that you had available?
I don't know, honestly. I knew towards the end I got toxemia, which heightened a lot of anxiety because I had a lot of anxiety.
You had panic attacks as well, didn't you?
Which I didn't realize that's what it was. Yeah. Which is a lot of fear with my dad having health issues, and now I'm having a child, because our church went through a lot of difficulties, and at that same time, my dad went through heart bypass. This is all while I was pregnant.
That's insane.
So there was a lot going on during my pregnancy, and that probably had a lot to do with it. Again,
I think that's a big thing for mamas, is we have a vision of what it's going to be like when we get married, when we have a kid, when all these things happen, and we don't think about the variables of life interrupting those like beautiful dreams And it happens, just like whenever I had Sophia, I wanted my mom to cut the umbilical cord. That was something very important to me because she's never done that with her grandkids. And it didn't happen because I had to go into an emergency C-section.
Yes.
None of my plans happened. They all went out the window because it was an emergency. So it's like, it was hard for me to give that up. But at the same time, it's just being grateful for the things that God did provide and that he did allow, which is a beautiful, healthy baby girl. Yeah. So like I feel like it's a lot about our perspective and how we think about things and being grateful for what we have had versus like what we didn't have happen.
Absolutely.
So I know you went through so much change with marriage and like all these things that you wanted to do, and you've had a very full life, and there's so much you're going to do after this. But I know that we've been talking about like changes and transitioning and kind of some of the definitions of what that means. Can you kind of explain about what that means to you?
Yes. The way I look at it, I really want to get to the understanding of the word, the root. I kind of geek out on that. And so I looked it up, and change is the situational shift, like moving, a new job, marriage, a baby.
Right.
But the transition is the psychological, emotional part of the journey and adjusting to that change. Change is the external, what happens to us, where transition is internal and it happens within us. And change is off. I did too. It really spoke to me because it puts things in perspective. It's like, it, but to be able to put it in those words, it just really helps me. It gives me clarity.
Right.
Change is often just like an event or a moment in time, and transition is a process that can take much longer, occurring before, during, and after a change. And then change actually focuses on a new situation or an outcome. And transition focuses on the feelings, the mindset, and reorientation.
Yeah, I love that. And as soon as you talked through the difference between change and transition, I thought of a butterfly.
Yes.
Because like butterflies go through change and they literally transform from a worm into a butterfly.
Exactly.
They had to go through that shift and that change, and then they were transitioned into something totally different than where they started. And that's like a beautiful picture of not just motherhood, but like Christianity and how God's trying to get us to change from one form to another.
Yes. It's easy to look at the butterfly and to see how beautiful it is, but forgetting the work and the struggle and the pain that you go through to make that transition.
Right. And I think pain is I look at pain totally different than I used to. I look at pain as like a tool that God uses to make us something better.
Absolutely.
And it's hard when you're feeling it to see that, but when you're out of it, it's like, oh my gosh, that pain was hard to go through, but it's almost like you feel the relief after, and that's the appreciation part.
Yes.
It's like when God lifts that from you, it's like, I didn't even know that I was burdened down by that pain.
Absolutely.
And that's when you have your faith build, is like, wow, like I had that burden on my shoulders for so long and now it's gone.
Yes.
That's a beautiful experience.
Yes, and that's why faith is so important. But a lot of times when you're going through those situations, the fear, the pain itself, you can't even think at times to like refocus on my faith. It's like I'm just trying to get through this next moment.
Yep.
But when I'm able to even if it's just saying his name, Jesus, that helps bring that refocus.
That's a big part of it. Yeah. Refocusing and focusing on what's important and not getting bogged down and looking at the situation, but looking at, I love what Cullen says about keeping eternity in view.
Yes.
He said that at a funeral where one of our friends passed away, and he tried to basically refocus where it's like, God, why did you do this to me? Versus, God, what is your plan?
Absolutely.
His plan is to live eternally with us. This earth is not his plan for us.
Right.
It's like a vehicle, right? It's just a chapter and a phase of time. But I love that you talked about change, focusing on a new situation or outcome, because we can't get somewhere new unless we go through those changes.
Absolutely. And that's how, through these changes, that's how God grows us.
Right.
And it is rarely comfortable.
Yeah, it never is. I'm actually on the other spectrum of that, where I've gotten so used to change. I'm now expecting like, okay, what else is going to change for me?
Yes.
And that's also a negative place to be in, where you're constantly waiting for the next thing.
right.
There has to get to a point where God balances that in us, where we're not like, okay, God, what now?
And I wonder if he's wanting us just to get to that point that, yes, change is going to happen, but instead of, oh, when's the next change going to come? It's like, okay, when it presents, I trust it's his perfect timing. And
Definitely.
because of my past experience, he helped me get through it. He's going to help me get through it again.
That's right.
He'll do it again.
That's right. Brandon and I've talked about this a lot, because that's where anxiety comes in, and overwhelm is when you're obsessed about things that haven't happened.
Yes.
And he and I have the same job, as most people know. And it's like things come up and I do this and he does this, where we're like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now? It's like, what are you going to do? You're going to do what you've always done. You're just going to find a way to get through it.
Right.
And in this situation, talking about our spiritual lives, it's just depending on God like we did before.
Absolutely. Well, and it's just getting deeper because just as humans, it's easy to get off track, just like, a squirrel, oh,
Squirrel.
look. So we're easily distracted,
Right.
and he does not want us to feel that anxiety, that fear. He wants us to feel confident, and we can feel confident because he has gotten us through things. It's just the seasons that we go through, and he allows us to go through the difficult things so we can draw closer to him,
Right.
have that confidence, and then be able to have a testimony that we can help someone else.
Right. That's what this is all about. And it's not about what we're going through. It's about the end goal
Right.
and getting us to that place.
Right. I thought about that scripture, Isaiah 43:19. Behold, I will do a new thing. And I feel like our end goal is to be like Jesus, and to be like him, we're going to have experiences that will allow us to put on Christ.
Right. And it's letting go of the old versions of life and our old selves.
Yes. And it's okay to grieve that. I mean, it's normal to feel sad when things were a certain way and now it's changed. And maybe the change isn't something that we really wanted.
Yeah.
And so not only then are you grieving with the change, but then your expectations.
Yeah, I think something we can definitely talk about is your expectations with other people, maybe not living up to the expectations. Because I think that's a big hurt and wound in like a lot of people, is we expect those picturesque moments of being in the beautiful home and like having the holiday and somebody being there, or like having, for me, like there were people that I expected to be there when I was pregnant with my daughter who weren't there.
Yeah.
And there were disappointments, right? And it's kind of learning how to like let that stuff go.
Yeah.
And that's a tough one, because change in our life usually involves other people. And you've been through many things where it's like you've kind of had to be okay with people letting you down.
Yeah, expectations, that's a difficult thing because we can have expectations, but most of the time it's more of a trying to get blood out of a turnip.
Right.
I mean, truly.
You can't pull something out if there's nothing there.
Exactly. And a lot of times, for me, I'll just keep it for me. Just like when we're talking about pregnancy, I had this dream, an expectation of how I thought it was going to be. And then when it wasn't that way, how sad I was. And that's okay to be sad.
It is.
But it makes me go back and say, well, did I have a healthy expectation?
Yeah.
Sometimes I wonder, is it like, well, this is what I hope for? And when you talk about people, that having a child is more of a situation, a circumstance, where when you're dealing with people, it's okay to have a healthy expectation. Yes.
Correct.
Because we're just human. And we can have hopes. And the most important thing I feel like I've been learning is like if I have an expectation, the person may not even be aware
That's
of that.
usually the case.
Yeah. So if I don't have communication, then 99% of the time they're going to fail me because they have no clue that I even have that expectation.
Right.
So I have been learning through life to put it out
To
there.
communicate. I love that, because that's exactly where my brain went, is like setting a healthy, I call it boundary, communicate. Because when I have been to therapy a few times, and that was one of the things I learned, is it's okay to have a healthy boundary and set it out there. And if that boundary is crossed, you reestablish the boundary. Said, no, we talked about this. And that kind of helps women, I'll focus there, for getting abused. Because a lot of times you don't know that you should have a boundary. You expect to be treated a certain way, and that can be negative. So I think it's important to have a strong circle around you to tell you, hey, you're getting treated poorly. Like, you should probably like have a conversation, to where some people, their expectation is too low of people. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, it's not that you demand to have more respect or more love, but you want to share your heart to where you have a healthy relationship versus like being let down time and time and time again.
Right. Honestly, if that's the case, that's something that's not about that individual. It's about me. It's like, well, what can I do different, and why am I wanting something from someone that maybe I'm unable to get?
Right.
That doesn't mean that there's something wrong with them. It's just, they may be in a season of life. A lot of times we don't know what season of life, other people are in.
You're right.
And you're exactly right. We do need people around us that we can have honest and vulnerable conversations of saying, this is what I'm hoping for. Mm-hmm. Is this something, how do you feel?
Yeah.
I'd like this.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
And that's one thing I love about our family is our monthly family meetings.
Yes.
And I think it's great to share on this episode because I think it's important that people know, like, setting up time to have communication is often going to be more effective than just willy-nilly in passing be like, hey, can we talk about, like, most people, I don't think even get to that point where they like talk about a situation that happened, or they just react in the moment instead of giving it some time and thinking about it and then coming together and kind of outlining what they would like to see from the relationship and how they can improve, and both parties having something to say. And that can be for a husband and wife, mom and dad, or as a family setting. And I think it's made us like a stronger family because of that.
Absolutely. Again, it's growing, right? Because I feel like, me and Colin as a family, and even when Brandon was at home, and then now our family has expanded, and Colin and I have our family unit. You, Brandon, and Sophia have your family unit. And so as a family, we're trying to learn to work together and communicate,
right,
while we're all still trying to deal with maybe changes in our childhood, or maybe even traumas that we've experienced, that we can learn to communicate more effectively. Not just that I'm getting out what I need to say, but am I saying it in a way that it's going to be received?
Correct, yeah.
And then making sure, okay, did you hear me?
I've told people about the family meetings and they're like, really? You guys do that?
Oh, wow.
And,
yeah.
And they say, like, your in-laws actually like take what you say and listen. And I'm like, yeah. Yours
I hope to.
Yours don't? Like, it kind of shocks me that people don't communicate, but it's very, very common. And just like you said, like, the changes that we've been through do affect how we communicate.
Absolutely.
And it can be for a positive or negative. And mine was definitely more negative when I was younger. And I think you guys have helped me like learn how to communicate. And I think doing it teaches us to communicate.
Absolutely. And we learn, I'll say I have learned, I'm still learning from my mistakes, because I have not achieved what I want to achieve in my communication, because like you said, we can react, and that's not, for me, that's not healthy. Good. Yeah. I want to be able to respond, but then I have to be in a place, in my own mind, in my own emotions, that then I can receive whatever's being said to me.
Delivered, yeah.
Yes. Because again, at the whole, like you said, changes, transitions, we're going to continue to go through that. But what's most important is the relationship, right, and staying healthy and happy.
And I've noticed something that you've been focusing on, which I really appreciate, is that like one of your kind of goals for the year is to focus on like more balance and like self-care.
Yes.
And I think that's a big change, because back to being a mama 101, like you put your mask on first and then you can help somebody else. And I think that's something that I feel like I'm probably on the other side of it. Like I probably do too much self-care, but I just think it's important.
Absolutely.
Because I can't be a good mom or a good wife or a good anything if I can't just like relax and have like peace with myself.
Yes.
And so I think that's an important change I've seen in you, as I've seen you starting to like have better boundaries, like not trying to please other people as much. And I respect that because I think that's a huge area of growth.
Well, thank you. It is something I've worked on. I call myself a recovering people pleaser. And, there are times that circumstances, situations, when I'm in a weakened condition, I can fall back into that easily. And then it becomes
because you love
a
so
habit
much.
again.
You love so much that you're giving too much of yourself.
Yes. And as mamas, we do that, becoming a grandma, it's like you just want to do.
Right.
But like you said, there's boundaries and doing things in a healthy way. I love self-care. And, when I think of self-care, I think of, taking a walk. I think of maybe taking a bubble bath or, even exercising. But other thing that I've really been focusing on is more my mental health and really like trying to journal more.
Yeah.
Of getting my thoughts out of my head and really processing that with the Lord and even with people that I trust. Because that's a part of self-care. If we're not taking care of our emotional and mental health along with our physical, then we can take care of physical. I can take as many bubble baths as I want, but it's not caring for my emotional and mental side.
Yep.
That's
huge.
important.
And I think it's different for everybody. When I was in college, they taught us about journaling.
Yeah.
And my professor would say, you guys are coming in here and you're dumping all over everybody. And I didn't know what he meant. And he's like, you need to go home and journal. That's what he would tell us.
Yeah.
And I've always remembered that. And that was, 10, how many years ago? It's kind of stayed with me because it's like we have to actively do things to make sure that our mental health is in check because it can go downward in a downward spiral very quickly.
Yes. And it doesn't have to be, like you said, it doesn't even have to be journaling because I've had seasons in my life where I journal. Like after I lost my dad, that was a big time of a big season of journaling for me. Mm-hmm. And then that kind of faded, that I wasn't able to do that. Exactly. And to be able to because I'm not journaling now, there's something else I need to do in order to
release.
Yeah.
You got to get it out.
Exactly.
I know that we have to, obviously it helps us release when we have those times where we're kind of going through self-care. And I think it's a wonderful opportunity to trust the Lord in every circumstance, right? And I think he gives us those times of rest to help us recoup and help us get ready for the next challenge.
Absolutely. We have to definitely be mindful and take advantage of it. Because new things can often, we can just become in a rut of go. I've got to do this, especially as mamas. I mean, your bottles and diapers and illness and other children that are older and you're trying to take care of all these things, but it's definitely important to take care of yourself. And God does allow us to have the changes and circumstances. And one of the other things that I really felt is comparison. I feel like when I was a mom many years ago.
You are a mom.
Yes, but I mean, when I had a little at home,
yeah.
And it's easy to compare. I just think as humans, we do that. But I think you all as mamas now experience something that I never experienced. You have it 24/7 with social media and how easy it is to compare ourselves.
Right.
And comparisons, it steals the joy.
Right.
Of our lives. The one thing I've been working towards is comparison versus learning from others.
That's a good one. Yeah,
yes.
It's very good.
And it can cross over real easily and we don't even realize it. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that helps me, it's like, okay, am I learning from this or am I feeling more, am I learning from someone else or am I comparing myself?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't have what they have.
It's a gray area.
Their kids, or, like I look at Sophia and the things, every child is different. Mm-hmm. And as mamas and as people, we can just compare. And so
it's very hard not to compare whenever you look at other kids, because you're like, I mean, my friend Sarah is a wonderful mother, and Eli started walking when he was like 9 months old. Well, Sophia's 14 months and she's still not walking. So it's like, I think that's amazing, but every kid is in a different pace. And
absolutely.
like, part of that's just being like okay with it and not letting it stress you out where it's like unbearable, because it's going to happen. There's going to be things that, you know, maybe Sophia is advancing in that another kid's not advancing in, but social media is a thief of joy. It definitely can be. I like it because I do learn from other people, but I'm also being sold to, right? Like there's all these products that are coming at me and I'm like, I need that. I want that. I want Sophia to have that. And it's like, I just have to stop. And Brandon taught me something. I almost don't even want to talk about this because he's going to listen to it and be like, yes, I did. Add it to an Amazon cart and leave it alone for a bit.
Yeah.
Like if you see a product that's like sold to you through an influencer on social media, it's like you don't have to buy it right then. Let it sit for like 24 hours. And then when you go and you evaluate that, usually it's like, okay, I really don't need this.
Absolutely.
Because there's so many things to buy when you have kids. And I feel like it never ends. It is never ending. The amount of stuff to buy a kid, and it will never change. So it can be very overstimulating and like overwhelming. So I think that's important that you brought up comparison, because sometimes you just got to cut it off.
Right. Right. And in comparison, the other thing is, like you were saying, you know, little Eli walking at 9 months and Sophia is 14 and she's not. To me, where it's comparing is like, oh, your child walked at this age and mine is not. To me, it's more of learning. It's like, okay, realizing that just because Sophia is not doesn't mean she's not capable.
Right.
It's learning. It's like, okay, as long as she's progressing in it, okay, I'm learning from it.
Right.
But not to compare her or
not getting stuck
or
in it.
like if someone has a certain thing, not comparing it because I don't have it or Sophia doesn't have it. It's easy. It's easy to do that.
And I think other mamas are the worst at like judging other mamas.
Yeah.
Even those, like, I haven't experienced this, but I know that some mamas that have like one kid feel like shame because they don't have more kids.
Yes.
And I know you've probably been through that.
Yes. Yes.
So I'm literally just sitting here like, oh, wait, you have one kid.
Yeah.
So you know what it's like.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you're not less of a mom because you have one kid.
No.
It takes the same amount of work for one kid as it does for three. You just spread yourself even more thin with more kids.
It just gives different opportunities. You know, I never wanted to have an only. More so for him.
Well, when you have one kid, they don't have anyone else to play with, learn from. Like, and I think that's part of like my, like, not worry, but just awareness with Sophia is like, I want her to be around other kids so she can learn.
Absolutely.
Because you always hear the second kid learn so much because they're looking after that first kid.
Yes.
You know, and so as a mom of one, you're more hypersensitive to what he's learning because you want to make sure he doesn't miss out on that observability part, you know?
Yes. That's why it was so important to me. We had such a small family. You know, my brother didn't have any children. And so...
He's the only grandchild.
Yeah.
And there's no cousins.
No cousins.
Nothing.
So from a very young age, our chosen family, we thank the Lord for a great group of people that he has grown up with from very small until now. And I wanted him, you know, to be able to share and learn from others because we are constantly learning. Right. Like I said, it can go over quickly to comparison, and that's something I want to continue to work on.
100%, and it never ends either.
Yes.
It doesn't end with having kids. It doesn't end after they grow up. It just continues.
Yes.
It's human nature.
Just remember, it steals our joy.
Yeah. For sure.
And we're not failing. You know, a lot of times when we compare, we can think we're failing. When no, actually what we're doing is we're forming.
Right.
We're becoming. Another thing that I have really been working on is surrender. And can be like surrendering that comparison or surrendering my fears, not measuring up. You know, I go back, I mean, good grief, it's been 34, 35 years ago that I was pregnant and had a baby. So it's been a lot of years, but especially as mamas today, learning to surrender and that sounds really easy. That word is like, okay, yeah, but how do you do that?
Right.
You know?
What's the applications of that?
Yeah. And motherhood, a lot of times we just feel out of control. And surrender is the complete opposite of control.
Yep.
And
that doesn't mean like not controlling your day. Because I do think as a parent, you do have to have control over your day, or you'll just like constantly be behind.
Right.
I feel like as a mom, I'm always like preparing.
Right.
And constant. If I stop preparing one day, I'm behind the next day.
Absolutely. I think where the difference is you go to prepare that day and something happens that then you can't do it. And then you're trying to control it. And instead of just, surrendering it.
Letting it go.
Yeah.
Just
surrendering
let it
it. Lord, I had this all planned out. I'm really disappointed. I'm going to need help, but relinquishing that control. But I agree. You got to be planned.
But be okay with a change of plans.
Absolutely.
I think that's important because I struggle with that. There's so many other people I know that struggle with getting thrown off when plans change.
I was that.
I am that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can't say that I'm not that way now, but I am so much better than what I was. I mean,
it's a failed expectation is what it is.
Yes. Yes.
It's another failed expectation.
And when I realized I was the one that I was unhealthy. It was unhealthy for me to have that expectation. Through time and experience.
And I think also we learn and value what's really important.
Yeah.
And I think as a new mom, I have learned to let go of things already that are not important.
Girl, you are so much further along than
I had to, because I was going to literally kill myself with anxiety because you're so anxious as a new mom, making sure you do this and do that and capture this moment and take all the pictures and do document their life. It's so much weight on your shoulders of this child I am responsible for. That alone is a huge mind shift.
Yes.
Where it's I was just responsible for me. Now I have a soul. Not just a human, but their soul that I'm responsible for. It's a huge and overwhelming change.
Yes. And I think one of the things that helped me, again, I learned a lot older than you, but letting go of those expectations, those things that I thought were so important. The thing that is most important to Sophia or any child is their parents, their mama and their dad's attention. You can buy them everything. You can send them to the best schools. You can just do all these things. And what the children really need is that one-on-one focus. And it doesn't have to be all day.
Right.
You work. Not only are you taking care of a house, you work. And so you have time, I've heard you say, part of your time is that bath time.
I love it.
That one-on-one time, she will remember that. What's that statement? People don't care how much you know, or I'm going to say how much you do. What they care about is how you make them feel.
Right.
And having that eye contact and listening to them, playing with them,
She doesn't, I think back to what I remember as a kid. I remember walking with Mom on the beach when I lived in Galveston as a kid before school. I don't remember any of the toys that I had.
Yes.
I remember her and being there with her.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's a good reminder for all mothers is just be present and not always think about what's coming next. Because change is going to come, but we only have this moment.
Yes. And when that anxiety comes because of the changes or the transition, it's okay, what is most important?
Right. I've had to remind myself of that because I can get very caught up in the details. I'm a detail-oriented person to a fault. I am hyper fixated on details. And I have to remind myself that nobody cares. Does that make sense? About the the details are not important. It's how do people feel? Are they heard? Is there a connection? Because I host a lot. We hosted the holidays.
Right.
And I remember being so flustered because the tablecloth wasn't ironed. One of the tablecloths I couldn't even find. And I had to talk to Louie, and Louie's all that matters is that we're together and we're having Thanksgiving. Everything's going to be fine. I did find the tablecloth, but I was okay with it not being perfect.
Yes.
And that's very, very hard to change.
I know. That's the difference. Yes, those types of details, that's surrendering that. And that's exactly what you did. And quickly, where for me years ago, man, it would ruin it just ruined the dinner. I don't have this. Seriously.
I know, I believe you. I know.
It's growth, and I'm so grateful for that growth. But where the details are is like you said, the detail of my day, that I make sure that I have that time with Sophia, that I have that time with my husband. And you guys do so well of taking that time for your family, not just your immediate family, but your parents, your sister, your niece. And I admire that. But the details of your day, and because God is in the details.
He is.
But the details of all the fluff,
the details that are important.
Yes.
We got to focus on.
Yeah. Yeah, just not worrying about that. What is important is the kingdom work.
Right.
And as mamas and daddies, you all are doing the kingdom work. What is it? Luke 22:42, not my will, but thine be done. Again, it goes back to, surrendering our thoughts, our expectations of what we think, our timeline, just trusting him, and, just being present in that sacrifice. Surrender sounds like to me, in times, Lord, I give you my expectation today.
I love
it doesn't have to be some big long prayer. Just, Lord,
Simple.
here are my expectations.
Yep.
I release my need to control this situation, whatever that is. I can't find my tablecloth, and I release this to you, Lord.
For me, it's like also like, oh my gosh, these are not the shoes that I wanted with this outfit for Sophia, or she doesn't have her bow. Like, it's important to me, but in the grand scheme of things, like, God doesn't care about what bow she has or what shoes that she has.
She's well cared for.
Yeah. She's very loved.
Yeah. And Lord, help me trust you, with my child's future, with, even with the shoes. It's like, Lord, I just place it in your hands. I surrender, whatever hard season you're going through. Lord, shape me in this season.
Amen to that.
Yeah. And surrender, in changes of transition, just in daily life. When we surrender, it calms us, it calms that anxiety, that fear. It eases our frustrations. It reinforces our heart, or it refocuses it. Just refocuses, and it just reminds us of God's presence when I'm able just to kind of take a deep breath. Lord, I surrender. A lot of times, Colin will have us touch our noses and take a deep breath.
That's so accurate.
It just refocuses, and it shifts me from, I have to hold this all together, to God is holding me. He's holding us together. And as a mama and grandma, regardless of the situation or the season that we're in, as changes and transitions come and they go,
right.
Kids may not remember the details. They're just going to remember, how we made them feel, and the environment that we have provided for them to grow in.
Yes.
Whatever season, what environment that we create, and may it be an environment of peace, prayer, and trust.
Amen.
And when it goes off, because it will, we recenter.
It'll unravel. We'll have to ravel it back in. But I love what you said about creating an atmosphere, because that's something that's been on my heart, because I think that's our calling as mothers and wives, is we are the heart of our home, and we create the atmosphere.
Absolutely.
Men don't create the atmosphere. They lead a lot in the atmosphere, but we're the heart of the home. So like everything, the emotions are typically filtered through the mother. A lot of children compare their childhood to a good or a negative childhood, dependent on the emotions of their mother.
Absolutely. The nurturing. Yep.
And that's been my desire from day one. I haven't always had the right priorities as far as like what I wanted to provide for Sophia, but I can say that I want her to have a safe home. Yeah. I want her to have an open communication, home with open communication. I want her to be able to tell us anything and everything, whether it's something good or bad.
Absolutely.
Or in between. So I think that creating that space, we can go through changes together as a family, because we're going to go through changes, and more changes are coming.
Always. One thing's permanent.
Yep.
Change.
It's going to come. But I think with the tools that God's provided, we can trust in him and know that we don't have to hold all these expectations on ourselves. We can give that over to him. And I love your message today because it's inspired me to continue to surrender to the Lord and not have such high expectations of things that aren't important.
Me too.
Because my goal for this year wasn't to do less. It is to do less, but it's to do less of what's not important.
There you go. Yeah.
And focus more on him and what he has for me. And that was part of the reason why I started this podcast. Because I'm like, I got to do more. I can't just sit here and when there's something that needs to be said, somebody has to say it. And I feel like that's been a calling that God has placed on my life, and I want to fulfill that. And that's a change. This is a change for me. But I really appreciate you sharing your heart and your testimony and your life, because I know you've been through so much.
Well, before we go any further, I'm very proud of you that you have taken the changes in your life, the positive and negatives as we all have, but now is this beautiful change of being mama to sweet Sophia, and now feeling that call and that burden to help others, to be vulnerable and to share things, because I do think it's helping others, but I also think it's helping you.
100%.
And that's what God has called us to do, is to be helpers of one another, to keep our focus on him, because this is his kingdom work.
Yeah. And one of the things that change brings, whether it's good or bad, is fear.
Yeah.
And I think squelching that is so powerful and it's empowering. And for me, I did have this fear before I started this of how will it be accepted? What are people going to think? Are people going to listen? Is it going to go anywhere? And I go back to that scripture. It talks about casting your bread upon the water.
Yes.
And I know that whatever we put our heart into, if the Lord will bless it. And it's trusting that he's going to use it to help other people.
Yes.
And give strength that maybe they didn't have before, or they didn't have a way, an outlet, or maybe a messaging platform to help. So I don't want to let fear prevent me from doing things.
Yes.
And I always want to try to go through changes in a positive way and be willing to go through changes. And I think I want Sophia to know that too. And I think being a mom has encouraged me to take more risks and be willing to go through more changes than I was before. And I want other people to do the same. I just feel like this is a space where other mamas can come on and be vulnerable. You've shared a lot of your heart, and I think it's just that's kind of how it starts. It has to start with someone. And the more people that are willing to share, it'll get other people out of their shell, and get out of the fear and be willing to step up and say what's on their heart too.
I do think it is important for people to share not only the good things of their life, but we all have negative. And it's easy at times for people to look at a picture.
A highlight reel.
Exactly. And to think, but it's no, we are all going through hard things. And not that the focus is, oh, poor me, I'm going through hard things. But what can I learn through this? And my faith in God. And then how can I have salt and be a light to others, not for glory for me, but to glorify God.
Right.
And to encourage whatever season you're in, whatever change, whatever transition. Not only do you have a heavenly Father that cares, but you have a community. Surround yourself with that community that you can trust and that you can be vulnerable with.
Right.
So,
amen to that.
Amen.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode today about going through changes. I think we've covered way more than we anticipated, but that's the beauty of these episodes, is we just never know what we're going to include. And I think everything that we've covered is beneficial. It will impact our daily life, whether that's having control or losing control, depending on the day. And we can just continue to give over to the Lord every day and pray and have him as our keystone, right? And have him as the foundation for every day. And no matter what changes we go through, we can depend on him because we're his child.
Amen.
And he loves us just as much as we love our babies.
Oh, he loves us even more if we can.
And more.
Yes.
So thanks all for joining. Please stay connected with us for another episode on the Mamas Who Brunch. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. And thank you, Jelena.